Welcome to this video on troubleshooting. My name is Elian Stine and I'm manager of the Performance Competence Center within Rabobank. One of our services is troubleshooting. Sitting next to me is Jasper Rappard. He's a performance consultant and he's specialized in troubleshooting services that are disrupted. The aim of this video is to give you an overview on troubleshooting. Jasper will take you to 8 steps in this process, and he will also give some information on what to think about before you start on the troubleshooting process. Jasper, 8 steps sounds very comprehensive and time-consuming. Is that necessary?
Well, 8 steps is quite comprehensive. The aim of this video, the scope of this video, is a major service disruption of a company's service where most of your customers cannot work with your online services. So the senior management is getting really nervous about all the negative sentiment on social media. The communications department is asking what's happening, when are things resolved. And a team of subject matter experts is called in to see where the problem is, because there's no quick way to fix it.
Okay. But are you saying then that this video is just interesting for subject matter experts?
Well, actually, I think that everyone who's involved in designing, building and running services is a subject matter expert. So if you're involved in the area of that, then you should stick around and learn about the 8 steps of troubleshooting, so you know what to do when your service gets disrupted.
Okay. But isn't it more important to make sure that there are no disruptions?
Well, that's absolutely true. But in my years as a troubleshooter, I've learned that no matter how much effort is being put in making robust services, at one time they will fail. And when they fail, you can learn a lot from it, like Neil Stephenson put it. The question is, do you want them to fail in production, where you have the risk of reputation damage and claims, or do you want them to fail when you're still working on them, building them?
Okay. And how do you make that happen, let them fail in development?
During development? Yeah. Well, that's where Arthur Luimes, our colleague, put a video online, Introduction into Application Performance Management, where he describes ways to put systems under stress and make them fail under load, under simulated load, when they are not yet in production. So that's where you learn from the systems and how your systems work, and gain the knowledge you need to know when your systems fail in production. Might they fail in production?
Okay. So basically you're saying that everybody should know the system very well.
Yes, you should know everything about your system, top to bottom, left to right, and front to back. Okay.
But back to troubleshooting. What is it, and why should you bother?
Troubleshooting is it's a way of problem solving in order to repair failed services, where I define a service as every system or workflow that adds value to your customers. It can be your internet banking, it can be your web shop, it even can be a VDI infrastructure that supports your back office personnel.
Okay. Yeah. And what's the goal you're trying to achieve?
Well, ultimate goal is to run your services as available and stable as you can.
Okay. And is there also something about learning then and continuously improving it?
Yes, in order when you do a troubleshoot, and one of the 8 steps is learning from what you did during a troubleshoot, is to learn from what went wrong, and so to continuously improve your service.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, like we said in the introduction, you would also like to say something before you start troubleshooting, of when you start troubleshooting. Yes. Can you tell us what's important when you start?
Well, starting with the first bullet, it's always tempting to see a symptom as a cause.
Okay, and can you give some example of that?
Yeah, when we did a major troubleshoot on a virtual desktop infrastructure, users would complain about connection issues. And a connection issue is basically a symptom and not a cause. When we started digging deeper into the problem, it turned out there were 8 different causes to the one symptom that was in the beginning called the cause.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And what about the next bullet, the assumptions?
Yes, people like to make assumptions, and I think assumptions are not necessarily bad. They're a great way to start thinking about what's going wrong and what to do next in troubleshooting. However, it's important that when you make an assumption, you always try to find evidence to support the assumption. Okay. You made from an event log that says that the connection with the database cannot be made because of a networking issue, does not necessarily mean that there is a network problem. Mm-hmm. So you should not run off to your network department and go through tests with them, taking up time of both your department and the network department. But you should also try to find ways to back the event log with actual data. For this, from my experience, the same event may be logged when your connection pool is full. Okay. So it's better to first look at your dashboard, at your own dashboard, if there's a problem with your connection pool, mm-hmm. than to run off and involve others.
Okay, okay. But in the next bullet, you are saying this is teamwork, so you should involve other people.
Yes, definitely. Once you've ruled out your own environment, you cannot go further with troubleshooting on your own. You always need to involve others, and that's where you need to know who are your peers in your value chain. So,
okay, yeah. and involve them then
involve them
in finding the cause.
Yeah,
yes. Okay. And the last bullet, be prepared. What do you mean by that?
Yes, well, having a common language and a clear procedure on how to troubleshoot helps you and your peers in the value chain and the people you're sitting with during a major outage in doing more effective and efficient troubleshooting. Okay. So that's where you be prepared. The 8 steps of this is part of that preparation.
Okay, okay. Now we know what to keep in mind. The troubleshooting can start.
Yes, with the 8 steps, we jump right into the first one.
Okay. Let's do that. What is the most important thing, in your opinion, to do first? Well,
first you need to clarify the problem. When you're called away from your day-to-day tasks, that means you won't have time for them. And in order to prevent the consumption of valuable time of yourself and others, it's very important to get grip on what the actual problem is. Okay. You do that by asking a lot of questions. When you sit together with the troubleshooting team, use a whiteboard and throw out anything you can think of at that moment. Also, hearsay at this stage is okay. You will have a chance to find evidence with what you heard later on. So the questions to ask is what happens and what's the symptom? Like in what do your users experience when they have the problem? Is there an error message? Are they unable to reach your service at all? Or is it just being slow and laggy? Okay. The next question, who experiences behavior, says something about where the problem might be. If all of your users have the problem, you might have a connectivity issue on the front of your service. But it's well possible that exactly 50% of your users has the problem. Or just a distinct set of users, like one particular office that cannot connect to the service. Okay,
so there are a lot of different things you have to investigate and to look into.
Yeah.
And,
yes.
Okay, okay. But in this, so basically in this step, it is called clarifying the problem. So you have pinpointed a direction then in this step.
Yeah.
And what's then the next one?
Next step is to break down the problem. Once you know what the problem is, you need to find the underlying real problems, the exact error situations. And this may be the hardest part of your troubleshooting process. This is where you where you try to map, so to say, the symptoms or the things that your users experience to your log files and the hard data that you can get from your systems.
Can you clarify that maybe again with an example?
Yes, what we did during the VDI troubleshoot, where people were complaining about connectivity issues, we were able to split up the connectivity issue into 8 separate problems, where people would have a 3-minute freeze of the screen they were working on. They would have flickering gray screens, or on a MacBook there were the beach balls that were identifying a hanging program. The Citrix receiver would hang. Yeah. So, and from each different error situation, we were able to define a troubleshooting stream.
Okay.
And by investigating them one by one, we were able to solve them all.
Okay. And what's basically then the outcome of such a step? It's a clear...
The outcome of this step is that you have a sort of a workflow in which you combine the user experience with the event logs, that you can get an if then else way to map user experience to sort of log data.
A diagram.
Yes, that you go through. Yes.
Okay. Okay. And what happens after that you draw up that diagram?
Well, when you got a diagram, then you know where to look for the errors. If you have an event log, then you know what system it is, so you can narrow down your problems in your chain.
Okay, so again, asking questions.
Again, asking questions, yes.
And what kind of questions do you ask them?
Well, they're pointing out at the slides. It's the where do the problems happen in your value chain or in your stack, in your technology stack. For instance, if there's a problem on shared storage, then you shouldn't. That's an indication that rules out, so to say, filling up queues, because there's an underlying issue with your shared storage. Then you need to know at what part the problems occur. That's if you know about your information chain or your system, how it's built up, then you know what parts you can rule out at a certain moment in time. And then when does the problem occur? Not when as in time, because that's in your log files, but when as in under what conditions does the problem occur? What do your users go through in a click path, for instance, before they end up in the problem? Well, what system is involved? Again, it's about knowing what your service is depending on. If you have a connectivity issue, you might have an issue either with the network, but it may well be that there's a problem with name resolution, like your DNS system. So that's important. And why is it happening? That's again about conditions. Under what circumstances does your system react like this? That's the why in this question. Okay.
Again, a lot of questions, very thoroughly, but it necessary.
Necessary, yes, it is. Yes.
Okay, okay. And then back to the VDI case. What did you learn then in this step in the VDI?
Yes, what we did in this step with the VDI case was we drew a complete path of the network from the bring your own device user, where the Citrix client was sitting, all the way to the VDI. So there were firewalls in between, there was Wi-Fi involved, there was the Citrix access gateway. And what we did, we combined the log files at the several stages in the infrastructure. You were able to get the IP address of the bring your own device machine from the Wi-Fi access logs. We were able to get the NAT, the translated IP addresses from the access gateways. And in that way we were able to pinpoint a number of places in the network where we could get network captures and see what was going on during a 3-minute freeze. Okay. So by combining all that information, we were able to get the right hard evidence that the 3-minute case was related to packets missing at some point in the infrastructure.
Okay. okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you had a clear enough insight now to investigate then further on how to solve it.
Yes, that gave us an idea about the root cause, which we would then analyze.
Okay, so that's the first, before solving, it's analyzing the root cause.
Yes. Before you can solve a thing you think is the problem, you need to really know it is the problem. So what we did with the VDI problem, we took 5 users that experienced the 3-minute freeze, and all 5 cases we did exact the same analysis, which showed exact the same behavior on the network. That turned eventually out that there was a firewall that was miscalculating IP checksums, and an upstream router would discard them because of the miscalculated checksum. So from that we proved that that was really the case, and we could start working towards countermeasures. Okay. However, it's very important at this stage to find out if there's more than one cause.
Okay.
So discuss the root cause you think you found. Make sure you all agree on it, that this is the actual root cause, and leave no open ends at this stage.
Okay, so maybe some iterations in the process.
Yes,
in the process, and then okay.
Yeah.
But then when you all agree, then you can start working on fixing it.
Yes. Then you develop the countermeasures, where you work out a way to take away the root cause of the problem. It's very important, of course, to test and validate the countermeasures you want to put in production in a test or a development environment. Document it and get an approval from the escalation management board.
Okay.
And it's important to take the step 7, the monitoring of the countermeasures, into account at this stage as well.
Okay, so you're preparing already for that then in this
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
And what about recovering then the service for the customers?
Yes, that's going to happen indeed here. You're going to implement the countermeasures. Be sure to communicate about the countermeasures at this stage. Implement them one by one.
And then why is that?
You might want to implement a whole bunch of countermeasures, but that might blur your view on how effective each countermeasure is in itself.
Okay.
So it's very important to keep that in mind.
Okay, so you have, after every countermeasure you implement, you have to check if it's...
yes, okay. If it's done what you expected it to do.
Okay, so
that's during the monitoring period. And this is where you monitor the effectiveness of your countermeasures. If it works like you expected, then your service will be back, and then you would be good to go. However, your troubleshooting team is not dismissed until the de-escalation management board says it's okay and the service is in order again.
Yes. Okay.
If your countermeasures were not all that good, which is it might happen at this stage, then you need to go back to square one and start the process over again. But from my experience, when you got to this point, you've got a 99% chance that your service is back and everyone...
if everybody did his work well, then there shouldn't be
any more cafetes. No,
Okay. Well, I know there's still an 8th step to go.
Yes.
So what's next
you might want to leave when your service is back on, but there's one important step here is, I call it standardize and share. Is where you learn from what happened during the outage. What you need to do at this stage is just write down everything in your case register, what you did, and make sure that it is communicated with everyone who was involved. So publish your case register on the intranet or to an email list. And that's something you also need to have in your troubleshooting procedure, is who to contact and when to contact them. So that's what you do here.
Okay. And you also, so you document your lessons learned So that, like you said in the beginning, it's better to learn from something when it's not when it's not actually going wrong.
It is,
So you're learning for the next time.
For the next time, yes. It's like a retrospective. You write down all your lessons learned, not only on a technical level, but also on a tactical and a managerial level. Okay. So not only the technique may be reconfigured, it might be that your processes might be need to be replaced as well. Yeah.
And what kind of questions do you then ask to in this learning stage?
Well, it's the obvious one. What things went well, what went wrong, and how do we prevent this from happening again?
Yeah.
So
okay.
that's yes.
Okay. Well, then I think we reached the end of this video. Thank you, Jasper, for your explanation. I think this might have been very helpful for a lot of people.
I hope so, yes. And, well, basically we're back where we started. I'd like to point out the video of Arthur Luimes. Again, I'll put the link to his video in the comment on this one. Mm-hmm. And I'll ask our viewers to leave a comment. And I hope they found it a useful video. So thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.